Hello, my movie peeps. I just got back from watching Equalizer 3, and with this third installment into the Equalizer franchise, we follow again Denzel Washington, this time abroad, where he finds himself right in the middle of the Italian mafia doing some sinister work, forcing him to clean up their act. And that's all pretty much out. Any spoilers to you guys? This will be a spoiler-free review. The Equalizer series, man. I'm not really sure where we place the Equalizer franchise in terms of action films. I wouldn't consider them on the high bar level of like John Wick, but I also wouldn't go as low as like the Taken series. I feel like it's somewhere right in the middle, right? And a lot of that has to do because of Denzel Washington. I don't think this series would be as watchable if it were not for Denzel's performance. So for me, whenever a new Equalizer film comes out, I'm not really like over the moon excited to see it, but once my butt is in that seat and Denzel starts doing his thing, you know, where he goes, "You got 30 seconds." It's hard not to witness that and go, man, this guy is just awesome. And so kind of going into this third film, I really didn't have much of an expectation. I love the first film, although yeah, it's flawed. I feel like it's endlessly rewatchable just seeing Denzel be his action-packed self. The second one to me I felt was very forgettable. I remember the opening where he's like a Lyft driver and beating up some spoiled rich kids, and I feel like it ends with like some sort of fight scene at a hurricane. And looking up the IMDb, Pedro Pascal was the villain of the second film. Completely forgettable, that second movie, I think. And with this third film, I'm happy to say it's not going to be a forgettable one, but there are some things holding it back. Let me get into the positives, though, about what I liked about it. Like I said, the reason this franchise is so watchable, engaging, and just badass to see is Denzel Washington. This is a top-tier actor kind of coming down to do some B-level, bloody, violent action, and I love to see it. Every word that comes out of Denzel Washington's mouth when he's about to take down a villain or when he's threatening somebody, it is believable to me. The way he can bounce back and forth from being this super likable, charming, sweet guy smiling in your face to then being a complete threat to the evil people in this movie, I could literally watch 10 of these just because of that performance. And I liked how in this movie they played up on the fact that, you know, this character is getting older. It's kind of wild to think the first film came out in 2014, almost 10 years to this movie's release date. So Denzel's been playing the Equalizer for 10 years. This film plays a little bit on his mortality. You know, is he slowing down? Is he as sharp as he used to be? Whether he should maybe retire from the retired life that he's already living. I like that aspect of the film. Part of me was even a little hesitant on the foreign setting in here, you know, because the whole premise of the Equalizer is just he's your everyday American just going about his life, and a stranger needs help, he's gonna put himself in harm's way to help that stranger, you know, to take it all the way to another country and start fighting the Italian mafia. I was like, this feels pretty big, but all right, let's see how it goes. And I think it's handled rather well in the film, and the way it comes full circle by the end where they explain to you how he even got involved in this mission feels so much in line with what the character is about. Another thing that kind of had me hesitant about this movie was the Italian Mafia aspect. Now, yeah, that's a cool title, the Italian Mafia, right? But to me, it could have easily have been the most generic part of the movie. It's just, you know, group of gang members doing bad things, and he has to stop them. The film really takes its time in letting you know how bad these mafia members are. Throughout the course of the movie, these guys do some horrific things that'll like piss you off and kind of shock you. There was a couple of things in here I wasn't expecting to see that made me really want these Italian members to get their just desserts, which made it all that more satisfying whenever Denzel Washington goes on his attack spree and gets the revenge on these people. So satisfying. I also think Equalizer 3 has got to be the most brutal and the bloodiest of the franchise. Maybe I need to go back and watch the other two movies. I know they were brutal and there's like bone cracking, sometimes blood and stabbing. They took it to another level in this third one. I felt like Denzel went Michael Myers on these guys. It reminded me like what you would get from an 80s, 90s action movie that was rated R. They don't hold back on the bones popping out, the stabbing, the gun violence, and Denzel, man, he is just brutalizing these thugs. I know that kind of gore isn't for everybody, but if you can show me Denzel beating someone up and then putting a gun through their head, literally, it's gonna get a little clap from me. It's gonna be a little tickle in my brain that goes, that was badass. But now I want to get into some of the things I was mixed to negative about that I think is going to hold it back for some people. Now, I still think this is a good movie, a good installment, better than the second film for me, not as good as the first one. And a lot of that will have to do with the pacing of the movie. This film is rather slow and it takes a lot of build up to do. Now, at first I wasn't minding the slow pace. Slow pacing can be good. Like I said, a big part of the beginning of this film is dealing with the mortality of the Equalizer. You know, he gets injured, now he has to recover, and I thought actually that was going to play a bigger part in the movie. You know, it's like, oh, maybe he can't do a lot of the physical action and it's more about his wits this time around. And no, the movie just like lets you see him recover fully, and then it lets you build a relationship with the people inside this Italian village and then get to know the Italian mobsters and why they're so bad. And a lot of that, yes, is very important, like I was saying, because it makes you really hate the Italian mafia, really makes you care for the people that are being hurt by them. But while watching the movie, you could feel the movie just kind of dragging its feet to get to the point, to get to that action that you want to see. There's like a lot of filler transition shots in this movie, like where we're going from scene to scene, where the camera really just pans in on Denzel walking through the streets, going up some flights of stairs, just making his tea or whatnot. Like, a lot of those scenes add up. By the time the movie was over, I thought, ooh, I wasn't expecting this to be over 2 hours long. It felt like a 2 hour and 20-minute movie because of its pacing. And then I come to find out, looking at the runtime, it was an hour and 50. I was like, it was under 2 hours? It felt a lot longer than that. So I'll definitely understand maybe some people complaining that they were a little bit bored throughout this one, because while they do sprinkle in a bit of action throughout, they really do kind of save it towards the end, and a lot of it is just kind of you hanging out with Denzel in Italy. And I felt like if they just could have cut the pace a little bit here, it would be a lot more rewatchable movie. Because like I said, the first movie, super rewatchable to me. That's a film I could watch every other time. Just a fun little action film of Denzel going crazy, doing the stopwatch thing and beating up some bad guys. This is one I would like to rewatch because of all the brutal action scenes, but thinking about those long, silent, kind of drawn out scenes, it's just kind of like, oh, this film's going to be a bit of a drag. And that's always something important to me, is like how rewatchable sometimes movies are. I know a lot of people were also happy to see, you know, like Dakota Fanning in here because of the movie Man on Fire that she did with Denzel Washington. And yes, while Dakota Fanning was like nice to see and she had good camaraderie with Denzel Washington, she's part of the aspect of the movie that helps it drag. It's the CIA trying to figure out, you know, who's taking down these mobsters, what's involved with them, and kind of creates its own little subplot. It comes together by the end, but it's just a part that feels like it drags and maybe wasn't all that way necessary. Feels a lot more like just, hey, how about we bring these two stars that are known for this movie and have them be in this film. Overall, though, I still got a kick out of this movie. That's the only thing I really recommend to you, is have some patience with it. But those action scenes, I think, are kind of worth it. And Denzel always makes these movies watchable and enjoyable. So for The Equalizer, I'm going to give action 3.5 stars. It would have been 4 stars if we would have gotten a little bit more of it. But man, every scene you get of Denzel doing what he does best is so awesome, so badass, and very brutal. Commenting the movie, I'm going to give it 2 stars. Denzel's a charming guy. He can be funny, throw out a joke here and there. Most of the humor will be coming from him, but there isn't really too much to be expected in this movie. Drama in the film, I'm going to give it a simple 3 stars. I like the story. They made me care about these little civilians in Italy, and it made me really hate these Italian mobsters, so it kind of all came together well once Denzel finally goes after them. But man, it takes some time for him to finally do that. Horror in the movie, I am going to go 2 stars. From like the opening action sequence, you're going to get a taste of that, but just some of the things these mobsters do to these poor townsfolk, I was like, dang man, these guys are evil. And suspense in the movie, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I would have liked to have given it more, but the pacing just ruins a lot of the suspense. So much of it just feels like it's dragging its feet. Casual fans into the Equalizer franchise, I'm going to give it a B+. Cinephiles, I'm going to give it a B-. And critically, I'm going to give it a C+. For Equalizer 3, even with its slow pace, Denzel and the action sequences still make this worth watching in theaters. Again, that's just my opinion on the movie, guys. I'd really love to hear from you if you got around to watching Equalizer 3. Where do you rank these in the 3 Equalizer films? As well as any positive or negatives you might have had with the film. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.